Yo, this is Galen Bingham, the Leadership Strategist, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Leadership Toolbox. This is where we help our leaders crush important goals and conquer stubborn problems. And whereas I normally like to do the small micro podcast and the micro inspirations, every now and again, I come across someone, another leader, that I absolutely have to share with my audience. And this guy is someone that I have known for, I guess we've known each other since almost 2006, 2007. We met on a platform, and it was kind of a social media platform where you can join live conversations. It was literally Facebook Live before Facebook Live. And I sat in on a couple of the shows that he was doing and just really fell in love with his content. And he came in on some of the things that I was doing, and we built this real professional bromance. If bromance is still a word. And
Right.
looked around, and we were part of the same organization, and so we've connected even more so in recent years. But I want to introduce everyone to Sir Charles Cary. So Sir Charles, this guy is the real thing. Not only is he an incredible speaker, he's a professional speaker. He does this thing for real. He is an incredible motivator. He's a trainer. He has done reality television shows. He's got his own podcast. But this guy has just released another piece of brilliance that I'm going to let him talk about. But at this point, I want to bring Sir Charles Cary into the conversation. Sir Charles, welcome to the Leadership Toolbox.
Hey, Galen, thanks so much for having me, man. It's always a pleasure. I'm still trying to get that voice. You got that golden voice. I love it, man. But yeah, it has been a long time, and several platforms that we've shared and cross-hatched and cross-mingled or co-mingled with one another on it. And it was really great to find that we were in the same mastermind and hanging out with the same folks, which was a sign that we were both in the right places. But I am as you say, professional trainer, speaker, and author. I love what I do. I do a little bit of coaching sometimes, but it's just been a joy, an absolute joy. And what's what's so exciting today or at this time is the fact that I've written about 7 books. And out of those 7 books, you always want to better your best or stay in line with what your topic is. And what we've decided to do was repackage, rebrand, refocus, and re-release. And that's exactly what happened. About a week ago was the debut of our new book series. All of the books have been repackaged, as I previously mentioned. And now we've got the Radiate the Brain book series. Just show you really quick. These are my children. And as you see, there's obviously a common theme, but it's all about mindset. That's the key. The most recent book, which I'm crazy over the top excited about, What's So Hard About Being You? And, a lot of people have been asking me about it because of the title. But, the way I write, Galen, is for the reader to be able to assess themselves and to be accountable to themselves. And if they're working with me, they're going to have to be accountable to me as well. But it's a deep dive into your brain. It's a deep dive into the level of honesty that you should reveal if you want to get real results. So that's a brief way of putting it, and I'll let you guide me accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, thanks for that introduction and for that overview. Those books are, you have to check out the books. You've got to get into this guy's content. And in a few minutes, you're going to get some samples as to why I'm so excited about Sir Charles Cary. So, Sir Charles, as you know, on the Leadership Toolbox, we built this program for leaders to help them get tools so that they can be more effective at whatever it is that they're trying to do. As I like to say, I want to help leaders crush important goals and conquer stubborn problems. So we're going to ask you to share some of those tools that you found to be effective in leading whatever groups you might be a part of, or leading yourself. When you lead yourself, I call that personal excellence. When you lead others, I call that leadership. Before we do that, though, I would love just to get a little bit about what's your background, what's brought you to this point. Obviously, you didn't come out with 7 books and incredible speaking presence. What was the journey like to becoming Sir Charles Cary?
Well, actually, when I was born, I had 5 books with me, but they hadn't been edited yet. No, seriously speaking, what brought me to this point was the fact that I had some serious life traumas. I grew up in a big city, and it was so important to fit in that I did just that. But I did it to my detriment. I wanted to hang out. I hung out, and next thing you know, I was doing everything that the bad boys were doing. The only difference was I wasn't a bad boy, but I adopted their habits and many of the negative habits. And I'm focusing on substance abuse. For over 25 years of my life, I was a substance abuser, chronic substance abuse. I did every drug that you could possibly think of, except for intravenous drugs. But I mean, a drug is a drug is a drug when it becomes a habit. So the next thing I knew, I realized that I literally had no control. 3 children, a habit, a mile long, uh, living in denial. And then one day I looked down at my younger 2 and I realized that, wow, what are you doing? It broke my heart because I know I wasn't raised in that fashion. I do know that my parents and grandparents, grandparents probably drank corn liquor and all that. And my parents, they drank whatever was going on today. But the habits and the addictions weren't, well, it was there, but it didn't seem to hit my home as impactful as we see drug abuse and substance abuse today. They had their parties, like most of our parents had their parties, and you sneak a little drink of beer, a sip of beer if you can get away with it. But that was just the stomping ground or the introduction to what later would become an abyss that I could not see bottom, top, side, or anything. Like a lot of kids, I went the gateway route. I started smoking marijuana, and like I said, before I knew it, I was doing everything. And I had 3 children, and I couldn't stop myself until I looked into their eyes and I say, God convict me. He convicted me through the eyes of my children. And that was the beginning of my 180-degree transition to becoming the person that sits before you today. So, it was a journey. It
Wow.
absolutely was a journey. And then when I got on my feet, you figure, well, everything is fantastic. I'm good to go now. Wow, I'm glad that's over. Let's write a book. I started writing. I'd never written a book before, and I got stuck. I got writer's block. I didn't know what I was doing. And then I get a phone call, and the doctor says, we think you've got cancer. I'm like, what? So the journey kept going. It deepened. It was lengthened. It was extended in ways that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. But I was able to endure it. I always say God is good. Not only did He convict me through the eyes of my children, but He let me know that there was a greater purpose for my life. Because when I heard that diagnosis, I didn't freak out. I didn't get afraid. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why are you not more concerned? And I guess I just knew that God had me. So, that was the basis of my shift, because my core was music. I was a musician, singing with bands and track dates and all that. But I shifted once I started dealing with these life traumas.
Wow, that's a very, very compelling story. And that for me, that really does kind of fit into the role of what leaders are supposed to do. Leaders are
Mm-hmm.
called to shift people from where they are to wherever they're supposed to be, whether it's the organization
Exactly.
dictating where they're supposed to be, whether it's their own vision dictating where they're supposed to be. But a leader's job is to influence and inspire people to want to do things better, faster, cheaper, or more effectively. And so I think your story is a great example of someone having the vision to lead themselves to do things more effectively. Now,
Absolutely.
today in your current profession, you're not only leading yourself constantly, but you're leading thousands of people sometime that will come to your events, people that will come to your seminars, people that will listen to your podcast. You're influencing them to do things better, faster, more effectively, that kind of thing. What advice, what tools, what do you go to in order to be able to inspire so many people to do things better than very often they thought was possible? What do you pull from to do that?
Honestly, I think one of the best things anyone can do, and it doesn't cost you anything, be still. Literally. If you're going through, I don't know, financial issue, relationship issue, it almost does not matter. We are so emotional, and men, we don't like to say we're emotional, but we are too. Be still, because if you're really seeking an answer, if you really need an answer, a lot of times if you find yourself in a quiet, tranquil position, you can't hear it. And it may be speaking to your heart, it may be speaking to your mind, or both, but be still. You know, we have people in our society that are high energy people. They just got to keep moving, got to make the bed, got to do the dishes, got to make sure all my shirts are ironed, whatever. That's just busyness. Some people call it nervous energy. But when you're going through, that's the time you really need to be chilled. So again, not only can you hear the answers that you should probably act upon, but so that you can really, take it in. What part did I play in this? Whatever it is. What could I have done differently or better? Why did I respond that way? Sometimes you can't be your best friend. You got to be tough on you. So you got to be quiet, be still, and sometimes ask yourself the tough questions, that's what my books do. It asks the tough questions.
Okay, wow. So I don't want you to give away everything, but if you could give me just one or two things from your book that speaks to those tough questions that anyone reading your book is probably going to feel a little bit of conviction. One of my pastors used to say, if you can't say amen, at least say ouch, but you need to say something, right? So what are one or two questions that people might pick up after they read one of your books?
Well, I'm going to focus on the current book. What's so hard about being you? I think this book will share some things with you that, to me, they may be obvious, but just because they're obvious solutions or options, we don't always cater to those things, because when you're in the thick of it, you just don't think of everything. But one of the things I would suggest is being still and realizing that there's someone in a much worse situation than you are every single day, especially if you're living in America. Number two, I'll say, we know how traditional thinking and expectations play a part in our lives. We may not understand why we do what we do, but we just simply do it out of habit. Well, let's say sometimes maybe you need to look at things a little differently. I believe it's in the book, it's a chapter called New Rules. And I think Bill Maher talks about new rules as well. It's not a take on his way of using that term, but there are new rules. We have evolved tremendously, and many of us are still doing things based on thinking that's 50 and 100 years old. There are new rules. Subscribe to them and act upon them. Now, of course, this depends on what it is that's happening or what it is that you're going through, but you have to be willing to look at things differently. In fact, in my presentation, I talk about choose to see things differently, and that's important. When we're going through a crisis, we respond in typical fashion. I'm suggesting choose to see things differently.
Hold up. Wait a second. I gotta cut in. I don't know because see that was so smooth and so subtle. I don't know if you got it. You're saying choose to see things different. I mean, we
Yeah,
all have our normal way of seeing things. We have our normal way of doing things. Usually, we've had some success with those ways, and
right,
you're suggesting that I need to violate all of that and choose a different perspective. Tell me more
right.
about that because that doesn't make sense.
Now, for most men, this is going to be difficult, and they're going to, I'm not doing that. That's the attitude for most men, especially A-type personalities, or the jocks, or the men that was just raised, man, this is a man's world. You just do what we do, whatever. Well, I think sometimes, let's say in a male-female relationship, now, it's not that women are always wrong, but they just happen to be, no, let me stop. Women are not always wrong. And because of our physicality, our voice, our loudness, our size, it's easy for us to maybe run away with a conversation or a disagreement. Before you get so fed up, if you're in a heated debate with your lady or a female friend, let me do my darndest not to interrupt her. And this goes for me too now. I'm not spitting out something that I can use. I can use this stuff too, because I am not an expert or master at all of this. I believe in the things that I'm saying, but I got to take my own medicine too. So if you're in a debate with a female, obviously being a man, you have so many things physically over her, your voice, your size, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes that may intimidate a woman, and you may find it easy to get your way sometimes. However, you ever experience having a debate with your lady or with a girlfriend, and you don't respond typically, and she's like thrown off because she's expecting you to blow up? Now, you may not have said, I'm going to respond, because you did, you yield a different response. Maybe she would become more forthcoming. Maybe because things aren't volatile, you'll both have more of a mutuality. Maybe you can gain or, probe more from the difference of opinion. If it doesn't work, okay, at least you tried. At least you gave it an effort. She knows it and you know it. So you can always go to another approach, if you will, but at least try, choose to see things differently. Say, you know what? Maybe she's right. Maybe that approach could work. Maybe she honestly did not realize that she got a scratch on the car. I don't know everything. Give her the benefit of the doubt, or give the other person the benefit of the doubt. Just, as I always say, radiate the brain and change the game.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful. I can see that not only working because you're talking about that from a personal one-on-one interaction, but
Oh, yeah.
I can see that from a leadership of business interaction as well. As leaders, we always have to see things differently, choose to see things differently,
Yeah.
seek a different perspective. We have
Mm-hmm.
to see if there is another way of approaching the same problem. One of the things that I'm working on right now is how many different ways can you solve the same problem? Because if we only go to our go-tos, if we only go to our surefires to solve the problem, yeah, we get expedience, but are we building the muscles that we might need some other time? And
Mm-hmm.
I like what you're offering here. Boy, this is
Think
this
about
is
if you were a boss, like if you're a manager, supervisor, or the actual boss, right? And of course, you can run the company any way you want to because you're the boss. Same thing for a supervisor or manager. It's your section, your division. Maybe you can, but try, for example, and it's basically the same thing, but just using different words. If you were to say to them, this is not a personal but a business scenario. Suppose you said to your team, all right, guys, I know what I want to do, but share with me, what would you do in this scenario? And you take in their suggestions. Now, some of them may not have thought it through. Some of them may not have a clue. However, because you have given them the floor, the platform. Show signs of, I believe in you, or I honor you and respect your opinion. I want to see what you can bring to the table. They may have a different respect for you because you're saying, okay, team, what do you think? What do you have? And now, taking it for what it is, they may not come up with anything, but at least you gave them a chance. And it's the same thing personally. Taking that man and woman, we bicker so much sometimes with our ladies. She just knows what she knows. You just know what you know. Flip it on her and say, look, you know what? Okay, maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Tell me what you're saying. Let her get it out of her system.
Wow.
And if it makes sense, if you care about her, if it makes sense and you care about her, give her her props. But if it doesn't make sense, you don't have to slaughter her. Just say, you know what? I hear what you're saying. I see where you're going, but I don't think that will work because of this. This is what I suggest. I think she may respect you enough to say, okay, then do it your way.
Wow. That's straight power, man. Guys, you have seen a little bit of what is in this guy's books, what's in his head. If you are ever in an area where he is on the speaking bill, you've got to go see Sir Charles Cary. And if you can't get there, or even until you get there, you've got to pick up one of his books. Now he's rebranded them and made them a part of a book package. Sir Charles, where can people find your books? How can they get a hold of the inspiration that you've just given us a small tidbit of just now?
So I'm just getting started, man. I'm amped up. I'm ready to go, Galen. But you can go to wordsmithspeakersalliance.com. That's wordsmithspeakersalliance.com. Get whatever books you want. We're actually running a special because the books, that's their new home. They have their own home, which is separate from my site for keynote speaking and things like that. But go to Wordsmith Speakers Alliance, as well as ebook, all in the same space.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being part of the show. This has been just a great opportunity for me to hang out with Sir Charles. He's one of the coolest people that I've come into contact with, and I get to talk to on a pretty regular basis. And it's this kind of motivation, it's this kind of inspiration that I get exposed to. And I wanted to share this with everyone here. Just a little bit of the inspiration that he shared with us today. Some of the tools is, number one, you've got to look at things differently. Number two, there are new rules, and you've got to be prepared to subscribe to and embrace those new rules because things are changing all the time. And just choose. Make a conscious choice as to the direction and the decisions that you make, as opposed to just doing things out of habit. So I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. Even when we were getting on, you were saying, Galen, I got another flight, just got another call. I got to go to this part of the country, that part of the country. So you are
man, we're staying busy.
You are in high demand. So I just really
grateful.
I'm appreciative of you for carving time out for me and for the audience, but I'm also appreciative of the value that you're bringing to the world, because we really are in a place that in my 50 plus years, I have never experienced the kind of hopelessness that seems to be prevalent around the world. And so we need voices like you speaking something different, speaking an alternative to the MSNBC, the Fox News, the CNN, because any channel you turn on, you can hear how dire things are and how bad things are going to be. And so we need your positivity and your spirit in the universe. So thank you for that.